Please switch on your cameras. Everyone switch on your cameras. Michelle, do you want to say something?
No, ma'am. Happy to see you. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine, Vishal. You say?
I'm also good, ma'am.
How's your study going on?
Online. Everything is online. So I cleared my first semester of LLM.
That's nice.
And
Congratulations.
one more thing. Thank you, ma'am. And one more thing. I got my AIB results also. So I've cleared that also.
Great. Congrats once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
So let us start with the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone is ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Just do like this. So I'm sharing the PPT as well. It will be helpful to you. So we were discussing yesterday Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. As yesterday I told you, the complaint under Section 12 has been filed if there is any kind of domestic violence with any female member of the family. So basically, I'm not going toward the background because background is clearly mentioned in the Act. If you go through the Act, it is clearly mentioned in the Act. So I will start from introduction. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 is an act of the Parliament of India, which was enacted to protect the women from domestic violence. It was brought into force by the Indian government from 26th of October 2005. However, the same was assented on 30th September 2005. That is the reason this act is used to call as Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, not 2006, because it was assented in 2005. However, it came into force in the month of October 2006. This act basically recognizes domestic violence as a human right violation because every female is a human also, and right to live a peaceful life is her right also. That's why we are used to say it's a violation of human rights if any female is caused domestic violence by the family members. Getting or not?
Getting, ma'am. Yes.
Now we come to the reliefs provided in the act are meant to provide immediate relief in the emergency situation. However, if we discuss that there were so many reliefs in the law, there were many laws provided to the females to urge from such kind of situation, then why this particular Domestic Violence Act was enacted? What was the basic reason? The basic reason was that the relief should be provided immediately to the aggrieved person. Aggrieved person means complainant, which is a female. We can use word aggrieved person for the female who is the victim of domestic violence. This act does not make any change in the existing personal laws, which relates to family matters. Earlier, if we go through, there is a complaint of 498A or 323 IPC, if there is any kind of domestic violence. But when we were used to go in the court, it takes a long time to tackle such kind of cases. Sometimes FIR has not used to be launched. Women cell are taking so much time for counseling, so immediate relief can't be provided in those kind of cases. And the urgency of this act was to immediate relief should be given to the females or aggrieved person. What kind of immediate relief? Supposingly, if a female is a victim of manhandling on daily basis, then where I will go? If I will go to the police station to register an FIR, it will take a long time. Many times, police officials are used to say कि ठीक है ये घर का मामला है घर में निपटाओ. I have oftenly seen. But where my relief will go? Where I will go to get the relief or get the protection? That is the only reason this particular act had been enacted, to provide immediate relief to the females who are who had been victimized by the domestic violence on daily basis. Next. Access to justice and the availability of infrastructure. What kind of infrastructure this act has provided to the females or the victims of domestic violence? While looking at the requirement of the females, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act allows the appointment of a protection officer. Basically, when we are used to file a complaint with a court, or we can move to direct protection officer if we are aware that so and so protection officer has been appointed for such a particular area. But generally we are used to move to the court directly, and court is used to issue notice to the protection officer, and by issuing notice, the court is used to direct the protection officer to meet the complainant, the victim, and to know the case facts which we are used to file before the court, whether these facts mentioned in the case or complaint are genuine or something has been added or whatever. After getting the order from the court, the protection officer is used to visit or used to call the complainant at her place where her office is situated, and there is a specific performer with the protection officer. She gets all the facts from the complainant and tick one by one. After getting the reports or fact knowledge from the victim of domestic violence, she is used to file a domestic incident report. Domestic incident report, whatever facts the victim has told her, as per those facts, she is used to fill that form and submit before the Honorable Court. Based on that DIR, domestic incident report, the court is used to issue summons to only those members of family against whom the protection officer has clearly mentioned that, yes, this and this family member or this respondent has committed domestic violence against the victim. Supposingly, if we had added so many members of family, A, B, C, D, doesn't matter, until unless those members have not been mentioned in the protection incident report, domestic incident report, till then the court will not issue the summons against those persons. Crux is that The summons will be issued against only those persons whose name is mentioned in the domestic incident report filed by the protection officer. Besides that, the protection officer is used to provide the medical facilities, shelter, even legal counseling to the victim if required. Getting? Thereafter, we will move to procedure to obtain orders, report of violence, and consequences of breaching the obtained order. The Act includes provisions for making domestic incident reports, which I have already stated to you, which will serve the important record at the stage of evidence taking. The domestic incident report filed by the protection officer, it is having the much more value at the stage of evidence. Besides that, the manner in which the application for orders under the Act have also been mentioned in the Act. Basically, the manner in which applications for order means relief we are seeking. That is, that format is clearly mentioned in the Act. You can get it, or you can copy. Thereafter, you can file the complaint based on that copy. Finally, the Act provides that the breach of an order obtained is a criminal offense. However, this Act is a quasi-criminal. It is not purely criminal. It is quasi-criminal. But if any relief, in any interim relief or any relief has been granted to the victim and the breach has been taken place, it will cause criminal offense, not a civil offense, not a quasi-criminal. It will be a criminal offense. PWDVA, the basic bullets, it is a civil law for protection orders not meant to penalize or punish. This is a civil law, quasi-criminal civil law for protection orders only, not meant to penalize or punish. There is no punishment in protection of women from Domestic Violence Act. However, breaching of any order will be criminal offense. It recognizes the right to residence of a woman. It recognizes the right of the woman to live in a violence-free home and that she should not be facing violence. It provides only temporary and emergency relief, for which this Act is particularly enacted. It is a law in response to the needs of the women. Basically, what is my need? What is a need of a female? A peaceful life, protective life, monetary, you can say monetary benefit, we can't use this word, monetary assistance. Okay. And it has a certain crossovers from civil to criminal law. So when the protection order or magistrate's order is violated, criminal law will start, as I already stated to you. What is domestic violence? Now we are defining what is domestic violence. As the name of the Act, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, the very first question arises in the mind that what is a domestic violence? Section 3 of the Act clearly defines domestic violence, which says that for the purpose of this Act, any act, omission, or commission, or conduct of the respondent shall constitute domestic violence in case it harms or injures or endangers the health, safety, life, limb, or well-being, whether mental or physical, of the aggrieved person, or trends to do so, and includes causing physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal and emotional abuse, as well as economical abuse, or harasses, harms, injures, or endangers the aggrieved person with a view to coerce her or any other person related to her to meet any unlawful demand for any dowry or other property or valuable security, or has the effect of threatening, the aggrieved person or any person related to her by any conduct mentioned in clause A or B. Otherwise, injures or causes harm, whether physical or mental, to the aggrieved person. Basic thing is that verbal harassment, mental harassment, physical harassment, sexual harassment, economical harassment, any kind of harassment directly to the complainant or any other person related to her. These offenses will be called as domestic violence acts. This act particular I am stating about activity, action. These action will be called as domestic violence. So physical or mental injuries, physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal or emotional abuse, economic abuse. These are basically 4 abuses which generally a female is used to complain. So physical abuse means any act or conduct which is of such a nature as to cause bodily pain, which is clearly with its name, physical abuse. Likewise, sexual abuse, any conduct or misconduct in sexual nature, humilities, discredit, otherwise violates the dignity of a woman. Verbal or emotional abuse, insults, calling names, like that. It can be covered. It can cover the child also, whether it may be female or male. Domestic violence can be filed on behalf of a male child. Even repeated threats to cause physical pain or any other to any person to whom aggrieved person is interested or related, as I have earlier stated. For the purpose of determining whether any act, omission or commission or conduct of the respondent constitute domestic violence under this section, the overall facts and circumstances of the case shall be taken into consideration. Every fact will be considered, whether the conduct of any respondent is of any kind of harassment. Every point will be considered under Domestic Violence Act. Okay, one thing I want to tell you, I think there is some server issue. Meeting can be off at any point of time, and if it happens, I will restart. Maybe on Zoom it will itself, or YouTube. So don't leave, please. So there are so many reliefs provided under this act. What is the procedure? Procedure, as I have yesterday stated, we have to file a complaint under section 12 of the Domestic Violence Act, wherein we can claim reliefs as per our own requirement. Now, who is the aggrieved person? Section 2A of the Act says that any woman who is or has been in a domestic relationship with the respondent and who alleges to have been subjected to any act of domestic violence by the respondent. 2 conditions. She should be in a domestic relationship with the respondent. Respondent means the person against whom she is going to file a case. Secondly, domestic violence should be done by that a particular person. She must be in domestic relationship with the respondent, and the respondent must be guilty of the domestic violence done upon that particular complainant. Now, what is domestic relationship? Domestic relationship means a complainant who is residing in a relationship with 2 or more persons in common shared household. It can be related to marriage or blood relation or adoption or any family members living together as a joint family. That is called domestic relationship. Shared household, as I have told you earlier, under same roof. Earlier, Section 2Q stated when this act was enacted, it was clearly mentioned that Section 2Q does not exclude female relatives of the husband or, basically, we are stating about respondent. Now, the question arises, who can be respondent? Respondent means any adult male person who is or has been in a domestic relationship with the aggrieved person. When this act was enacted, it was